In this video, I want to explain to you how I decided on my first army for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. So choosing your first army is always a little daunting. There are a lot of factors to take into consideration, such as what models are available, do I like the look of them, what's their backstory, am I motivated to paint them, are they a small army or a horde that I'll have to paint hundreds of models, what's their play style, what do my friends play, are they overpowered or underpowered in the game, how much will it cost me. These are just a few of the factors that you may methodically go through or even subconsciously go through when considering your first army for any tabletop wargame. There's an investment in both time and money to consider, and only too often do we spend hundreds of pounds to find out we don't like how they play, or that everyone plays the latest hotness in the local community is saturated by one particular army. However, it doesn't need to be this hard. First and foremost, buy what you like. It's your money you're spending and it's your time that you'll be putting into planning, building, painting and playing the army. It's worth deciding up front what is the most important thing to you. So, are you more of a hobby gamer, and so really connecting with the look of the models and enjoying painting them is where you get your most enjoyment? Are you all about the fluff of the army, and do you really connect through having a vivid picture in your head of how your army has battled in the past and its motivations for pushing on through the mortal realms? Are you all about the gaming side and have a preferred way of playing, such as fast assault or fancy magic tricks? Do you hate the painting side, and so the idea of painting a horde army would just drive you insane, no matter how they play or how good they look? Once you've done your research and you know what your motivation is, then try and narrow it down to 2 or 3 choices. This means that you can check in your local group and see if there's a huge number of others playing one particular army. Whilst remembering the choice is definitely yours, you may find that groups who just play the same armies time and time again very soon get tired of the game and quit. So by this point, you should have narrowed down your choice to maybe 1 or 2 armies, and you're ready to dive in. Don't forget, in Age of Sigmar, you can play whatever you like, so don't get too bogged down if you're finding it a hard choice. Even if you want to play in tournaments, most of these only restrict you to playing within your Grand Alliance. So for example, if your Grand Alliance is Chaos, you've narrowed it down to Khorne, Bloodbound and Skaven, then great. You can still pick models from both anyway. So this is the process that I use to narrow down my choices and pick my first Age of Sigmar army. I'm definitely a hobbyist first and a gamer second. However, I do have a competitive streak. I was looking for an army that I liked the look of the models, one I'd be motivated to paint up a full 2,000 point army, but I also wanted them to be competitive when I eventually take part in the tournament. The fluff is less important. However, if they have a cool backstory, then so much the better. With this in mind, I narrowed down my search to 2 choices, the Sylvaneth of Grand Alliance Order and the Beastclaw Raiders of Grand Alliance Destruction. I love the models from both factions. From Sylvaneth, the Tree Revenants were particular favourites, along with the amazing Alarielle, the Ever Queen, being one of the best models I think GW make. From the Beastclaw Raiders, I loved the Thunder Tusks and the Stonehorns, along with the Mournfangs, and the idea of a winter-themed army was very appealing too. I asked the local gaming group to see if there were any other players who played these particular factions, and whilst the guys were very encouraging to me and said, look, play whatever you want, there was a few who'd recently picked up the Sylvaneth armies, so I decided to dive in with Beastclaw Raiders. Now, Beastclaw Raiders are essentially part of the old fantasy race of Ogre Kingdoms. Some of the old models have been split into other allegiances, such as Gutbusters, which contain the Lead Belchers and Iron Guts. They're still part of the Destruction Alliance, so I can add them if I want to. Also in the Destruction Alliance are Orcs, Goblins and Trolls, who now have names such as Bone Splitters, Moonclan Grots and Troggoths. Now these don't appeal to me aesthetically, however I like the Beastclaw Raiders enough that this doesn't worry me, and remember, you can always pick what you like. The Beastclaws don't have a £50 start collecting box, so I needed to start looking to see where would be a good place to start, and this was where I found a great value starter box. The Icewind Assault box retails for £135 from Games Workshop. However, it contains models that if bought separately would retail for £184.50. That's a huge saving of £49.50 over the original price. This isn't the Games Workshop I remember from the good old days. In this box, you get 2 kits to make Thunder Tusks or Stone Horns with options for Riders, Huskguards or Frostlords. You get 1 Mournfang pack consisting of 4 Mournfang and Riders with options, 3 Icefall Yetis, 4 Frost Sabres and 1 Icebrow Hunter. In total, using the points cost, this can add up to 1720 points. With a bit of tinkering with options and the addition of 1 more Thunder Tusk, I can have a 2,000 point army for less than £170 at Games Workshop retail prices. Take into account the online discounts and this becomes a very affordable starting army for anyone just starting out. I love the big models, I like the small army count, and I also like the fast, direct way they play, so this was a winner for me. So I picked up the Icewind Assault Box, the General's Handbook, and the Beastclaw Raiders Battle Tome. Now remember, in my last video I said the General's Handbook and the Battle Tomes are optional, so you don't need these to play. However, I'm a collector and a bit of a completionist too, but I don't regret buying them one bit. The background of the Beastclaw Raiders has changed a little from the old ogre lore of Warhammer Fantasy, who would rampage the land to give tributes to their ever-hungry god of the Great Maw. The Beastclaw Raiders fight not for the thrill, but for survival. The battlefields are their hunting grounds, as it takes a staggering amount of meat to satisfy their ravenous hunger. The Beastclaw are followed by a storm, which hunts them down and they must continue to move forever to stay ahead of it. They call this storm the Everwinter. This storm can take many forms depending upon the lands they encounter, such as snow blizzards, freezing fog or an icy sandstorm. Unlike their gutbuster ogre cousins, the Beastclaw do not feast on their own kind. They believe the Everwinter lays claim to the bodies upon death, and to deny the storm would only hasten its approach with greater ferocity. This background gives me some amazing ideas how to model my army. However, I've always wanted to have a winter-based force, and the idea of an Everwinter blizzard chasing down my units is just too cinematic to pass up. And now we have it. Beastclaw Raiders are my chosen army for my journey into the mortal realms. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if so, please give it a thumbs up as it really helps to get it out there. And also subscribe to make sure you don't miss a step on the journey with me. Feel free to drop a comment below too, as I love to hear from you about your Age of Sigmar stories too. See you again in the next video when I'll be taking you through my first 500 points of my Beastclaw Raiders. Thanks for watching.